This truth, once comprehended and applied, possesses the power to transform not only our careers but our very existence. The topic we shall delve into is this: refrain from excessive amiability in the workplace, for no one else will champion your cause. Now, you might be pondering, isn't amiability a virtue? Isn't kindness something we should aspire to? Indeed, these are noble qualities. However, tonight I challenge you to look beyond the surface, to peer into the depths of your own consciousness and recognize a fundamental truth about the nature of reality and your place within it. You see, my esteemed listeners, the world you experience, your job, your colleagues, your superiors, your clients, all of it is but a reflection of your own consciousness. It is a mirror showing you the contents of your own mind. And when you are excessively amiable at work, when you constantly prioritize others before yourself, when you sacrifice your own needs and desires for the sake of being perceived as kind or agreeable, you are not living in alignment with your true self. You are not honoring the divine spark within you. Let me be clear, I am not advocating for callousness or cruelty. Far from it. What I am proposing is a radical shift in your perception of reality and your role within it. You are the operative power in your world. You are the one who shapes your experiences through the power of your imagination and your beliefs. When you are excessively amiable at work, you are operating from a place of lack. You are unconsciously telling yourself and the universe that you are not worthy of success, of recognition, of advancement. You are placing your power in the hands of others, hoping that they will reciprocate your kindness, that they will recognize your worth and reward you accordingly. But remember this fundamental truth: no one else can do it for you. No one else can imagine for you. No one else can assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled on your behalf. This is your responsibility, your divine right, and your sacred duty. So how do we apply this understanding to our professional lives? How do we cease being excessively amiable without becoming unkind? The answer, my listeners, lies in the power of your imagination and the law of assumption. Imagine, if you will, the ideal version of yourself in your workplace. See yourself confident, assertive, respected. Feel the satisfaction of speaking your mind clearly and directly. Experience the joy of setting healthy boundaries and having them respected. Assume the feeling of being valued for your contributions, not just for your agreeableness. This version of you exists right now in your imagination, and your imagination, my dear listeners, is the very fabric of reality. What you imagine with feeling, with conviction, must externalize in your world. It is law. Now, some of you might be thinking, but won't this make me selfish? Won't this alienate my colleagues? And to this, I say, what others think of you is none of your business. Their opinions, their judgments, their perceptions, these are all reflections of their own consciousness. You are not responsible for their imaginings. Your only responsibility is to be true to the divinity within you, to honor your own worth, to respect your own boundaries, to value your own contributions. When you do this, when you assume the state of being respected and valued, the outer world must conform to match this inner conviction. Let me share with you a story to illustrate this point. There was once a young woman named Sarah who worked in a large corporation. Sarah was known for her kindness, her willingness to help others, her tendency to work late to finish projects for her colleagues. She was, by all accounts, excessively amiable. But Sarah was also overlooked for promotions. Her ideas were often dismissed or, worse, claimed by others as their own. She found herself stuck in the same position year after year, watching as less qualified, more assertive colleagues climb the corporate ladder. One day, Sarah discovered the power of imagination and the law of assumption. She began to imagine herself as confident and assertive. She saw herself speaking up in meetings, claiming credit for her ideas. She felt the satisfaction of setting clear boundaries and saying no when necessary. At first, this felt unnatural to Sarah. It went against her habitual way of being. But she persisted in her imaginal acts. Night after night, she would fall asleep feeling the satisfaction of being respected and valued at work. And then, my listeners, the miracle occurred. Sarah's outer world began to change. She found herself naturally speaking up in meetings. She set clear boundaries with her time and energy. She asserted herself when others tried to take credit for her work. To her surprise, her colleagues didn't resent her for this change. Instead, they began to respect her more. Her boss took notice of her contributions. Within months, Sarah was promoted to a leadership position. You see, by changing her inner world, by assuming the state of being respected and valued, Sarah transformed her outer reality. She stopped being excessively amiable and started honoring her true self, and the world had no choice but to conform to this new self-concept. This, my dear listeners, is the power that lies within each and every one of you. You are not at the mercy of your workplace, your colleagues, or your circumstances. You are the creator of your reality. So I ask you now, who would you be if you stopped being excessively amiable at work? How would you carry yourself? How would you speak? How would you feel? Imagine it vividly. Feel it deeply. For in that imagination, in that feeling, lies the seed of your transformation. Remember, the world is yourself pushed out. Your colleagues, your superiors, your workplace, all of these are reflections of your own consciousness. When you change your concept of self, when you stop being excessively amiable and start honoring your true worth, the world must change to match this new self-concept. This is not about becoming unkind or ruthless. It's about aligning with your true self, with the divine spark within you. It's about recognizing that you are worthy of success, of recognition, of respect, not because of what you do for others, but because of who you are. In your professional life, as in all areas of life, you must be the author of your own story. You must write the script of your success. No one else can do this for you. No amount of amiability, no degree of people-pleasing can substitute for the power of your own imagination and the conviction of your own worth. So tonight, I challenge you to revise your story. If you've been the excessively amiable one, the team player who always puts others first, imagine a new version of yourself. See yourself as confident, assertive, respected. Feel the satisfaction of setting clear boundaries. Experience the joy of being valued for your unique contributions. This new self-concept may feel uncomfortable at first. Your habitual way of being may resist this change. But persist, my listeners, for your outer world has no choice but to conform to your inner convictions. Remember, the universe is infinite in its ability to respond to your consciousness. There is no limit to what you can achieve when you align with your true self. Your workplace, your career, your success, all of these are waiting for you to claim them through the power of your imagination. So tonight, as you leave this gathering, I want you to carry with you this powerful truth: you are not here to be excessively amiable. You are here to be true to yourself, to honor your divine nature, to express your unique gifts. And when you do this, when you stop being excessively amiable and start being authentically you, you will find that the world responds in kind. Your colleagues will respect you more, not less. Your superiors will value your contributions. Opportunities for advancement will naturally come your way, for you will have aligned yourself with the fundamental truth of your being, that you are the operative power in your world. Now, some of you might be wondering, but how do I start this transformation? How do I stop being excessively amiable without swinging to the other extreme? And this, my listeners, is where the true work begins. The first step is awareness. Become aware of the moments when you're being excessively amiable at the expense of your own well-being or success. Notice when you're saying yes when you really want to say no. Pay attention to the times when you're silencing your own voice to avoid conflict or to please others. Once you've cultivated this awareness, the next step is to use your imagination to create a new self-concept. This is not about visualizing specific events or outcomes. It's about feeling the essence of who you want to be. Imagine yourself as someone who is respected, someone who speaks their mind clearly and confidently. Feel the satisfaction of setting healthy boundaries. Experience the joy of being valued for your unique contributions. Make this imaginal act as vivid and as real as possible. Now, here's the crucial part: you must persist in this new self-concept. Your old habits, your old ways of being excessively amiable will try to reassert themselves. The world around you might initially resist your new way of being. But remember, persist in the face of contrary evidence, for it is your persistence that will eventually reshape your reality. Let me give you a practical exercise to help you in this process. Tonight, before you go to sleep, imagine a scene that implies you are now the person you want to be at work. Perhaps it's a colleague complimenting you on your assertiveness. Maybe it's your superior acknowledging your valuable contributions. Or it could be you feeling a deep sense of satisfaction after successfully negotiating a raise. Whatever scene you choose, make it as real as possible. See it clearly in your mind's eye. Hear the words being spoken. Feel the emotions, the pride, the satisfaction, the sense of empowerment. And as you drift off to sleep, hold on to that feeling. Let it be the last thing in your consciousness as you enter the sleep state. Do this night after night, and watch as your waking life begins to align with this imaginal act. For remember, my dear listeners, what you imagine with feeling, with conviction, must externalize in your world. It is law. Now, I want to address a concern that some of you might have. You might be thinking, but won't this make me selfish? Isn't it wrong to put myself first? And to this, I say, there is no virtue in martyrdom. There is no nobility in constantly sacrificing yourself for others, especially in your professional life. You see, when you consistently put others before yourself, when you're always excessively amiable at the expense of your own well-being and success, you're not just harming yourself. You're also doing a disservice to those around you. You're denying them the opportunity to experience your true self, your authentic power, your unique gifts. Moreover, you're setting an example that perpetuates this cycle of self-sacrifice and undervaluation. Is that really the legacy you want to leave? Is that really the example you want to set for others in your workplace? Instead, imagine the positive impact you could have by being true to yourself, by honoring your own worth, by asserting your boundaries. You would be setting an example of self-respect and authenticity. You would be showing others that it's possible to be successful without compromising one's integrity or well-being. Remember, my listeners, you are not here to please everyone. You are not here to be liked by everyone. You are here to be the fullest, most authentic expression of yourself. And when you align with this truth, when you stop being excessively amiable and start being genuinely you, you'll find that the right people will be drawn to you. The right opportunities will come your way. The right kind of success that doesn't require you to compromise your values or exhaust yourself, will naturally follow. Now, let's delve deeper into the practical application of this principle in your day-to-day work life. How do you actually stop being excessively amiable without becoming unlikable or difficult to work with? The key lies in understanding that assertiveness is not aggression. Being true to yourself, honoring your boundaries, and valuing your contributions is not the same as being rude or inconsiderate. It's about finding that sweet spot where you can be kind and cooperative while also being firm and self-respecting. Let's explore some specific scenarios where you might typically be excessively amiable, and how you can approach them differently. When asked to take on additional work, instead of automatically saying yes to avoid disappointing others, pause and consider whether you have the capacity to take on more. If you don't, it's perfectly acceptable to say something like, "I appreciate you thinking of me for this task, but my current workload doesn't allow me to take on additional projects at this time. Perhaps we could look at redistributing some of my current tasks if this new project is a priority." When your ideas are overlooked or dismissed, rather than staying silent to avoid conflict, speak up. You might say, "I'd like to revisit the idea I proposed earlier. I believe it has merit and could significantly benefit our project. Could we take a few minutes to discuss it further?" When others try to take credit for your work, address this directly but professionally. You could say, "I'm glad you found my work on this project helpful. I'd appreciate if we could clarify my contributions when presenting to the team." When asked to work late or on weekends, instead of agreeing to preserve your image as a team player, consider your own needs and boundaries. You might respond with, "I understand this project is important. However, I have personal commitments outside of work hours. I'd be happy to discuss how we can adjust our timeline or redistribute tasks to meet our deadlines within regular working hours." When facing criticism, rather than accepting all criticism to appear humble or cooperative, It's okay to defend your work when appropriate. You could say, "I appreciate your feedback. I'd like to explain the reasoning behind my approach, as I believe it addresses some concerns you may not be aware of." In each of these scenarios, the key is to respond from a place of self-respect and authenticity, rather than from a desire to please or avoid conflict. Remember, you are not being unkind by asserting your boundaries or standing up for yourself. You are simply honoring your own worth and teaching others how to treat you. Now, my dear listeners, I want you to understand that this transformation from being excessively amiable to being authentically assertive is not something that happens overnight. It's a process, a journey of self-discovery and self-assertion. You may find yourself slipping back into old patterns of people-pleasing or conflict avoidance. When this happens, do not berate yourself. Do not judge yourself harshly. Simply recognize it as an opportunity to choose again, to realign with your new self-concept. Remember, every moment is a new opportunity to decide who you want to be. Every interaction at work is a chance to practice being this new, more assertive version of yourself. And with each choice, with each assertion of your boundaries and your worth, you are reshaping your reality. You see, my listeners, your world is plastically formed. It is constantly being molded by your consciousness, by your beliefs about yourself and your place in the world. When you persist in your new self-concept, when you consistently choose to honor your own worth rather than being excessively amiable, you are literally reforming your world. Your colleagues will begin to treat you differently. Your superiors will view you in a new light. Opportunities that were previously closed to you will suddenly become available, for you will have changed the only thing you can truly change: yourself. Now, I want to address another aspect of this transformation, the fear that often accompanies it. Many of you might be afraid of the consequences of stopping being excessively amiable. You might fear being disliked, being seen as difficult, or even losing your job. But I say to you, my dear listeners, that these fears are merely shadows cast by your old self-concept. They are not real. They have no power over you unless you give them power through your belief. Instead, I urge you to turn your attention to the positive aspects of this transformation. Imagine the relief of no longer having to please everyone all the time. Feel the satisfaction of being true to yourself. Experience the joy of being respected for who you truly are, not for who you think others want you to be. This is the power of your imagination at work. By focusing on these positive feelings, by assuming the state of being respected and valued, you are creating the very conditions that will allow these experiences to manifest in your outer world. Remember, the outside world is a reflection of your inner world. As within, so without. When you change your concept of self, when you stop seeing yourself as someone who needs to be excessively amiable all the time and start seeing yourself as someone worthy of respect and recognition, your outer world must change to match this new self-concept. This is not magic, my listeners. This is the law of your own being. This is the creative power that lies within each and every one of you, waiting to be recognized and applied. So I challenge you, starting today, to begin this transformation. To stop being excessively amiable at work and start being authentically you. To value your own contributions. To assert your boundaries. To speak your truth. Begin with small steps if you must. Perhaps it's saying no to an unreasonable request. Maybe it's speaking up in a meeting when you would usually stay silent. Or it could be asking for the recognition you deserve for a job well done. Whatever it is, do it with the conviction that you are worthy, that you are valuable, that you deserve respect and recognition. Feel the truth of these statements in every fiber of your being. And then, my dear listeners, watch as your world begins to change. Watch as your colleagues begin to treat you with newfound respect. Notice how your superiors start to value your input more. Observe how new opportunities seem to appear out of nowhere. For you will have aligned yourself with the fundamental truth of your being, that you are the operative power in your world, that you and you alone are responsible for your success and your happiness.